Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my channel. This is Tanush. So, I've not been quite active in making videos, and those of you who approached me for consultation might be knowing that my father was not well from quite some time, and unfortunately, few days back he passed away. So, he was a very important person for me in my life. He was a very simple person, led a very principled life. He was a professor of engineering in a very reputed university. But his passing was quite glorious, I would say, because during that moment when he left his body, we were all chanting the names of the Lord, and it's considered quite auspicious, to leave the body, for the soul to leave the body in the consciousness of the Supreme, right? So that way, that gives a lot of satisfaction. Now, I have been, from past 3-4 days, I was just looking at the comments, and many comments I saw was related to my video which I made for Saturn, the transit of Saturn. And many people were writing that they started on Saturn Mahadasha. It's been quite tough, very difficult. Some of you might be going through Sadesati in your life, and things are very tough. So I thought, I should make a video on that, and I should share my personal experience, because I am going through Saturn Mahadasha from last, I think, more than 14-15 years. It has been a rough ride, I would say, and I can actually speak out my experience, how the dasha was. Now, one thing I would like to mention is, we cannot decide on how the Saturn Mahadasha would be for a person based on our personal experience. So Saturn in a particular sign for an ascendant in the same sign can give results in 100,000 different ways. So to generalize the dasha based on someone's experience would be quite immature, I would say, right? So for example, say for Gemini ascendant, if Saturn is placed, say, in the 6th house, so if there are 10 people for whom Saturn is placed in the 6th house, each one will get different results. For that matter of fact, if suppose we take a sample of 1,000 people, so each of these 1,000 people will get different results, because a lot depends upon how Saturn is placed, at what degrees it is, how the dispositor is placed, in which nakshatra Saturn is placed, what aspects Saturn is receiving, is it in conjunction with any other planet. So many other things are there which we need to consider. So that is the reason we can say that Saturn for an ascendant placed in the same sign will give different results for different people. So I'm not trying to generalize this, because Saturn will give results on many different ways, right? So we cannot generalize. I'm just going to speak out my experience, because for me it has been a tough ride. But I have learned a lot of lessons, and I'm just going to speak about what I've learned and why Saturn does few things. So I have gone through Saturn Mahadasha. In Saturn Mahadasha, I've also gone through Sadesati. So it was very, very difficult situation for me, right? So few things which Saturn does to us during Saturn Mahadasha. Again, it's not to generalize. Many people have risen to heights during the Saturn Mahadasha, because Saturn gives a lot of opportunities. It opens, doors, giving you multiple opportunities to work very hard. Many people have achieved success during Saturn Mahadasha. So it would be wrong to say that Saturn Mahadasha is bad. So I would like to reiterate that, right? Now, few things which Saturn does, and these are general qualities of Saturn, I would say, which probably people will experience to different degrees, right? So first is isolation. So as soon as one completes Jupiter Mahadasha, which is quite optimistic, assuming that Jupiter is a functional benefit for you and placed in a decent sign or a very good sign, Jupiter Mahadasha would be like a cakewalk, right? Achieving multiple achievements, very good things would happen in life, right? You'll have huge people connected to you, relatives, friends, colleagues. So things are generally quite good. But as soon as you enter into Saturn Mahadasha, things change, because you are now under the control of Saturn, and Saturn's philosophy is quite different as compared to any other planet. And Saturn is responsible for giving the past life karma, that we need to understand. So whatever we are getting during the Saturn Mahadasha is what we actually deserve, is what we deserve. That's what exactly Saturn gives us. So first thing which Saturn makes us is it gives a kind of isolation to us, right? So slowly you'll get cut away from your relatives, from your friends. So that it might mean that probably you will travel to a foreign land, or you might travel to a different place in your country, and you are kind of physically away from people. And obviously when there is no physical connect, obviously the relation is not like how you mingle with people, the relation is different. So when there is no physical proximity, then things change, right? So that is one thing. And in worst case, you are completely cut off from your relatives, from your friends, maybe for various reasons. Reasons may be maybe multiple reasons. There may be multiple reasons, but this is what I've experienced. And it was quite frustrating initially, but later on, when when one finds out that people who they were associating were actually not how they appeared to be, right? Maybe there was some hidden agenda. Maybe they were very close to you because you were meeting their expectations, multiple things. So when Saturn Mahadasha happens, Saturn isolates you from the society, maybe from your relatives, and it might be frustrating. But why Saturn does that, we need to understand. One is for us to introspect, because when you are with people, life becomes quite easy. But when you are alone, that is when you actually introspect, try to understand what's going on in your life, what's in your mind. You also try to introspect about your situation, your skill set, where you are lacking, what are your strengths, right? So that is what Saturn wants you to do. The second is Saturn wants to make you independent. And one way of making you independent, that's what I found, is Saturn will isolate you. And once you're isolated, when situations come upon you, when different kinds of situations come upon you, you don't get help like before. And that is when actually you start actually pushing yourself out of your comfort zone and trying to handle the situation. And by doing this, Saturn is actually making you independent and preparing you for the future. Now third point is Saturn actually tries to make you strong during this period. And how does it makes you strong is, first is it will deprive you of any help. So that doesn't mean that you will not get any help, but the help which you used to get during your previous dashas, it's like cut off probably by 50%, 60%, 70%. So the help is quite limited, and that is when you become strong and try to handle the situation. Next is Saturn tries to bring out the hidden potential in you, right? So the potential comes only when situation comes. When situation comes, when there is no help, when you know that you have to face the situation on your own, that is when you try to face that, and the hidden potential within you comes out. Just like we have in Ramayana, when all Lord Rama and all his Vanar Sena, they were actually thinking that who would cross the ocean, who has the potential to actually cross the ocean, which was like 100 yojanas. So everyone was telling that I have the capacity to go 10 yojanas, 20, 50. Some said I can go 100, but that's only one way, I cannot come back. And Hanuman was just watching, and that is when Jambavan came and said that, hey Hanuman, you don't know your potential. You have the potential to jump and then to come back. You are very powerful. And then Hanuman realizes that, oh, I really have that potential, I forgot that. And then he jumps. He takes the name of Lord Rama and he jumps, and he comes back successfully. So that is exactly what Saturn wants to do and plans to do. He wants to get that hidden potential which is within you, outside, so that you will know what is your potential. right? So it brings out the hidden potential, and it also prepares you to lead people in the future, or to kind of counsel people how to handle the situation. So when similar situation comes in someone's life, you are very confident because you have seen that and you have handled the situation on your own, and then you can confidently tell people that this is how you handle this kind of situations. Don't get disturbed. This is how you handle the situation. So Saturn wants to make you strong, and hence it gives the situation which it gives. Now, one more quality which I have observed in Saturn Mahadasha is that success doesn't come easily, right? So why? Because Saturn first wants to develop patience in you. So even a simple thing I have observed, it's not always, but simple things which were quite easy to do during other dashas like Jupiter Mahadasha, during Saturn Mahadasha you will have to try doing that 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and then that is when the things happen. Even simple things in some cases, again it's not to generalize. So Saturn is actually trying to invoke the patience. It is actually trying to give you the quality of patience, that you need to have patience in life to achieve anything. And believe me, initially it's quite frustrating, but as things happen, as you progress in Saturn Mahadasha, if you have to go for any for getting any government job done, you are so matured, you'll become so matured that you'll think, so if I go there, these are the things these guys would be asking me, these are the set of documents they'll be asking me, right? And then you plan everything, you take everything with you, and then things will happen in a shot because you are now matured. You think. So the capability of thinking before doing anything, and patience, that is what Saturn develops in you during Saturn Mahadasha. And it also means that Saturn is making you more organized. You plan things very well, which is the general quality of Saturn. So Saturn wants you to be quite organized, plan your things very well, and be very disciplined, right? So automatically you'll imbibe those qualities. Otherwise things won't work. So initially it's frustrating, but later on that okay, I'm going for this work, so let me think what all might be needed, and then you are extra cautious, you'll take everything with you, and then things will happen. So that is what Saturn wants. So these are the qualities which Saturn wants you to develop during the Saturn Mahadasha, right? And one more thing is, unless you are actually qualified, Saturn doesn't give results. Now, one more thing which Saturn gives is hurdles. Saturn gives a lot of hurdles during Saturn Mahadasha. So again, the same thing, even simple work looks very difficult to do, trying multiple times due to a lot of hurdles. And ultimately, if we look, again, it's the quality of patience which Saturn is actually developing in you guys, right? Now, one more thing which I have observed is Saturn exposes you to difficult situations in life. Like, I have gone through many difficult situations during Saturn Mahadasha, learned a lot of lessons, right? And so I have observed this at my workplace when I was in Jupiter Mahadasha. So I used to get projects. I work for IT, so I used to get projects which were like were quite easy to do, not very difficult, or even if I put a lot of efforts, I used to get results. So now when I'm reading team and everything, right, I end up getting quite difficult projects which are very difficult, right? So how much ever I plan, whatever I do, always things go wrong, and it's quite frustrating. And but I have observed that Saturn is slowly taking me to the next level, where I have to plan meticulously, think a lot about what can go wrong, what kind of coordination we need to have in the team, right? So we are forced to think in those direction, that what can go wrong, what all I need to do during this project, so that things won't go wrong. So it's actually making you more matured, taking you to the next level where you can handle things in a much better way, right? So even though things might look difficult at this point of time, but ultimately as you pass through the dasha, at a later stage you'll realize that I have developed a lot of qualities. Second is, Saturn doesn't allow you to take shortcuts during this period. Saturn hates shortcuts. During Jupiter Mahadasha, probably if you take shortcuts, your time is good, things will work. But during Saturn Mahadasha, Saturn says, no way, no shortcuts, please. You have to go through that long route and follow the principles, the values, then only things will work. So no shortcuts. Next is, what I found is, if we develop the quality of renunciation during this period, not to be attached too much to the results, but putting in a lot of efforts. So we have to put in a lot of efforts, be prepared mentally that there are situations which are going to come, something is going to go wrong, so we need to be prepared mentally because things will go wrong. And then be detached, don't be too much attached to the result, and develop patience, so results would come. So being detached or developing the quality of renunciation doesn't mean that we don't look for success. It means that we need to develop patience, we need to develop that quality of patience before we actually can see success, right? So it will expose us to difficult situations, and in those situations you will not get as much help as you expect. Again, Saturn is making you strong, independent, and on all those qualities Saturn is trying to develop, right? So again, I'm not making this video to scare you guys. I'm just sharing my experience and what I thought Saturn has taught me. I'm just trying to share with you guys, right? So don't worry much. I would say if Saturn dasha is difficult, it's probably due to our past karma. Nothing happens just like that. It's only our past karma which Saturn is giving us. Is giving us back, right? So take in a proper spirit. It's a long dasha, so ultimately we'll end up developing these qualities, right? And to add to that, I would also want to mention that Saturn likes people who work very hard, right? Even if we fail or if we succeed, it doesn't come very easily. So if Saturn is very, very badly placed or debilitated, then that person generally becomes quite lazy. And once a person becomes lazy, that person, for that person, Saturn Mahadasha would be like a huge mountain. So the ultimate mantra is, you need to be very active, very proactive, plan properly, be organized, be disciplined. Success is not going to come very easily, but you are going to get that ultimate success for sure. So you'll see once you cross the halfway mark, which is 9.5 years of Saturn Mahadasha, you will see that you are much more prepared to handle the world, the situations, different kind of situations which you never imagined, right? So Saturn is actually bringing out that potential which is hidden within you, right? So it's not going to be easy, but it's not so tough. Saturn does things so that it's preparing you for the future dashas, right? So the next upcoming Mercury Mahadasha may be good for you or it may be bad for you, but Saturn is preparing the ground for you, right? And one thing I've realized is during the Saturn Mahadasha, Saturn shows things on the ground. Let it be relationship, let it be anything. And initially it might be very disturbing, very shocking, because people start behaving in weird ways, different ways, which is not very palatable for your senses, for your mind. It's quite disturbing, and even I had that that experience, very difficult. But later on, I found out that few people were actually not worth of having that relationship, and whatever happened was for good. And during this period, you'll know actually who is your friend, who is your enemy, and who are the people who are like they say fair weather friends who would like to hang around you, or relatives even who would like to hang around you only when things are good for you, right? When you're experiencing success, when everything is going fine in your life, that is when they want to get connected to you. And as soon as you land in problems, they completely detach themselves from you, right? It's like they completely cut off, ruthlessly they cut off. And people will experience this. So Saturn is just showing that this person has some hidden motive, or he or she is connecting to you because they have some hidden agenda, right? So guys, don't be afraid of Saturn Mahadasha. Saturn Mahadasha gives many opportunities as well. So even myself, I came into astrology only during Saturn Mahadasha. I had no idea prior to that. I never planned for that. It just happened during the Saturn Mahadasha. So Saturn, there are many good things. It will evolve your character, your life, your values, your principles to the next level, and you are prepared to handle situations in your life. So try to be more spiritual during this period, and things will be much easy, right? So guys, these are my thoughts. So one line, if I want to sum it up in one line, you will get what you deserve. You will not get what you desire in Saturn Mahadasha, right? So only if you deserve, you will get, right? Irrespective of what you desire. So which means to achieve something, you have to show to Saturn that I really deserve that, and which ultimately boils down to the point that you need to work extremely hard and prove to Saturn that I really deserve this, and then Saturn will give that to you, right? So thank you guys for watching my video. If you like my video, you can subscribe to my channel. I'll be back again. So I'll not be very active for 1 or 2 months. I'll be back again with one more very interesting video for Gemini Ascendant, guys, because I've seen many comments. So a very important point which struck to me when I was going through the comments is about the prarabdha karma which Gemini Ascendant guys have to face. It's very important, and my next video would be on that, right? So thank you guys for watching. I'll be back again.